Ethan Light, a shy musician, struggling to find his voice, is unexpectedly invited to perform at a concert with Presley, a famous singer. But no one ever imagined that. What if one unexpected opportunity could change everything, but also risk taking it all away? Would you dare to step into the spotlight? Before we continue, tell us in the comments where in the world you're watching the video from. And don't forget to subscribe. Ethan sat cross-legged on the worn carpet of his small room, the faint glow from a single lamp casting long shadows against the walls. The air was heavy with the scent of aged wood and the remnants of yesterday's takeout, creating a strangely comforting atmosphere that had become his refuge. Around him, the walls were plastered with posters of legendary musicians, each one a testament to the dreams he harbored yet struggled to articulate. Jimi Hendrix, Norah Jones, and the Beatles stared down at him, their smiles both encouraging and daunting. In that small space, he felt both inspired and trapped, the weight of his aspirations pressing down like a heavy blanket. His guitar, an old acoustic model with a few scratches and a slightly warped neck, rested on his knee as he plucked at the strings. Each note he played resonated through the room, but Ethan couldn't help but feel a sense of disconnection between the music and his heart. He had spent countless hours practicing, trying to carve out a niche for himself in a world that seemed to favor the glitzy and the glamorous. But self-doubt gnawed at him like a persistent itch he couldn't scratch. As he strummed, he was painfully aware of the inadequacies that lingered in the back of his mind. The thought that he would never be able to captivate an audience the way his idols had. He tried to lose himself in the melody, hoping to find a unique sound that was his own, but it eluded him. Each chord felt familiar yet foreign, a reflection of his internal conflict. He paused, resting his fingers on the strings, and let out a sigh that echoed in the silence of the room. He longed for recognition, for a moment where he could share his music with others, but the mere thought of performing in front of an audience filled him with dread. What if they didn't like him? What if he faltered under the spotlight? The myriad of what-ifs loomed over him, suffocating his creativity. As the hours ticked away, the dim light of the lamp flickered, mirroring Ethan's wavering hope. He closed his eyes, imagining a scene in which he took center stage, the crowd cheering him on as he poured his soul into his music. He could almost hear the applause, feel the warmth of 1,000 eyes on him. But the fantasy was always followed by the harsh reality of his solitude. He was a ghost in his own life, haunting the corners of his dreams while remaining invisible to the world outside. With a resigned determination, Ethan picked up his guitar once more, forcing himself to push through the insecurities. He adjusted his posture, straightened his back, and focused intently on the strings under his fingers. Perhaps if he played long enough, he could drown out the nagging voice of doubt that echoed in his mind. He began strumming a soft, rhythmic tune, allowing the music to wash over him. It was a tune that spoke of longing, of searching for something just beyond reach. A flicker of hope ignited within him as he lost himself in the notes. Later that week, Ethan found himself at his favorite cafe, a quaint little spot adorned with mismatched furniture and the warm aroma of freshly brewed coffee. The walls were lined with local artwork, and the gentle hum of conversation created an inviting atmosphere. He sat at a corner table, nursing a cup of black coffee as he observed the patrons. This cafe was a haven for artists, musicians, and dreamers alike, a place where he felt a sense of belonging even amidst his shyness. As he sipped his drink, his ears perked up at the sound of animated chatter from a nearby table. A group of enthusiastic fans discussed an upcoming concert featuring Mia, a renowned pop star whose voice had captivated millions. Ethan's heart raced at the mention of her name. He had followed her career from a distance, admiring her talent and the way she seemed to effortlessly command the stage. She embodied everything he aspired to be, and the thought of her performing live sent a rush of excitement through him. The conversation swirled around him like a tempest, filled with tales of Mia's latest hits, her dazzling performances, and the electric atmosphere of her concerts. Ethan's imagination ignited as he envisioned what it would be like to stand in front of a crowd, to feel the energy of the audience as they sang along to her songs. For a moment, he allowed himself to dream, to picture a future where he too could share his music with the world. But as quickly as the dream took flight, it crashed against the wall of his reality. Would he ever have the courage to step into the spotlight? As the chatter in the cafe continued, Ethan's mind wandered back to his guitar, the instrument that felt like an extension of himself. He thought about the songs he had written, the stories he longed to tell. Each strum of his fingers had the potential to connect with someone, to evoke feelings and emotions. But the fear of rejection loomed large, casting a shadow over his aspirations. He watched the fans at the table with a bittersweet longing, their excitement palpable, while he remained a silent observer, invisible and unheard. Days passed, and the cafe buzzed with anticipation for Mia's concert. Ethan found himself visiting more often, drawn to the energy that enveloped the space. Each time he heard her name, a mix of admiration and longing filled his heart. One afternoon, as he sat in his usual corner, a bright notification lit up his phone screen. He glanced at it, and his heart dropped into his stomach. The email notification had a subject line that read, "Invitation to open for Mia." His hands trembled as he opened the email, his heart racing with each word he read. It was an official invitation for him to open for Mia at her upcoming concert. The weight of the moment crashed over him as he processed the reality of it. Excitement bubbled within him, but it was quickly overshadowed by a tide of fear. Could he really do this? Was he ready to share the stage with someone so accomplished? The questions ricocheted in his mind, drowning out the initial thrill. He felt a whirlwind of emotions, joy, disbelief, and an overwhelming sense of inadequacy. This was his chance, the opportunity he had longed for, yet the thought of performing in front of a packed audience paralyzed him. What if he failed? What if he stumbled over his words or forgot the chords? The fears that had haunted him for so long surged to the forefront, threatening to extinguish the flicker of hope that had ignited in the cafe. Ethan sat in stunned silence, staring at the screen. The invitation was real, yet it felt like a mirage, something beautiful and unattainable. He could almost hear the echoes of applause, the cheers of the crowd, but they felt miles away, just out of reach. Would he have the courage to accept this chance? Would he finally break free from the chains of his self-doubt and embrace the spotlight? In that moment, the weight of possibility settled heavily upon his shoulders, and he knew that this was just the beginning of a journey that would challenge him in ways he had never imagined. The atmosphere in the rehearsal studio was electric, a blend of anticipation and creativity that filled the air as Ethan stepped inside. The room was expansive, adorned with instruments of all kinds, each corner resonating with the echoes of countless rehearsals. Bright lights illuminated the space, casting a warm glow that contrasted with the coolness of the metal and wood. There, on the stage, was Mia, a vision of charisma and grace. Dressed in an effortlessly chic outfit, she moved with a fluidity that spoke of her experience, her presence commanding yet inviting. Ethan's heart raced at the sight of her. He had seen her on television and listened to her songs countless times, but nothing could have prepared him for the reality of standing mere feet away from someone so talented. His mind raced with thoughts of inadequacy. How could he, a timid musician from a small town, possibly share the stage with a pop icon? The self-doubt crept in like a shadow, but it was chased away by a flicker of excitement. As the rehearsal began, Mia's voice filled the room, rich and powerful, enveloping Ethan in a wave of sound. He watched in awe as she effortlessly transitioned from one note to the next, her passion for music palpable. The way she commanded the attention of the band, the crew, and the audience even in practice was a lesson in confidence and artistry. Ethan felt a sense of admiration swell within him, mingling with a yearning to connect with her on a deeper level. It was as if he were witnessing a masterclass in performance, each moment both inspiring and intimidating. When Mia finally turned her attention to him, a warm smile broke across her face. It was genuine, disarming even, and it sent a rush of warmth through Ethan's chest. She approached him, her energy infectious, and for the first time, he felt a flicker of hope that perhaps he could find his place alongside her. They began to discuss the set list for the concert, and as they spoke, Ethan discovered how down-to-earth she truly was. Her laughter was genuine, and she seemed to appreciate the nuances of music as much as he did. They bonded over their shared love for songwriting, exchanging stories of their creative processes, the struggles they faced, and the moments of triumph that made it all worthwhile. As the rehearsals continued over the following days, Ethan found himself drawn to Mia in ways he had never anticipated. Each interaction deepened their connection, and he started to share his dreams and fears with her. She listened intently, her eyes sparkling with understanding. It felt liberating to be so open with someone who seemed to understand the complexities of life in the spotlight. Yet, amidst the growing bond, a gnawing fear took root within him. The specter of rejection loomed large, whispering doubts into his ear. What if she saw him as nothing more than a stepping stone in her career? What if all this warmth was just a facade, a way to maintain a favorable image? Despite the turmoil in his heart, Ethan was captivated by Mia's spirit. They spent hours in the studio, collaborating on arrangements and harmonies. She had a way of making him feel seen, encouraging his creative instincts and praising his contributions, filling him with a sense of validation he had long craved. Every shared laugh, every moment of creative synergy, pulled him deeper into the orbit of her world. Yet, the more he fell for her, the more acutely aware he became of the chasm between their lives. She was a star, adored by millions, while he was still a struggling musician, fighting for recognition in a world that often overlooked talent in favor of popularity. On the day of the concert, the air was thick with excitement and nerves. The venue buzzed with energy as fans eagerly awaited the show. Backstage, Ethan paced anxiously, his heart pounding like a drum. He had rehearsed his set countless times, yet the thought of performing in front of a live audience filled him with dread. The weight of expectation loomed large, and he grappled with an overwhelming sense of self-doubt. What if he forgot his lyrics? What if the audience didn't connect with his music? In the midst of his spiraling thoughts, he caught a glimpse of Mia backstage. She was surrounded by her team, but when their eyes met, she broke away and approached him. Her presence was calming, and as she smiled at him, something shifted inside Ethan. There was a sincerity in her gaze, reassurance that he wasn't alone in this moment. She spoke to him with warmth, sharing a few words of encouragement that felt like a lifeline. It was in that moment, as she gently squeezed his shoulder, that Ethan felt a surge of courage. He remembered the passion that had driven him to pursue music in the first place, the love he had for creating and sharing his art. The stage lights dimmed, and the crowd erupted into cheers as Mia took the stage. Ethan watched her, a mixture of admiration and longing flooding his heart. She was in her element, moving gracefully as she engaged the audience with her enchanting voice and magnetic personality. He felt a pang of envy mixed with pride. She was everything he aspired to be, yet he was also grateful to have the chance to share this momentous occasion with her. As the concert progressed, Ethan prepared himself mentally for his performance. He could hear the rhythm of the music pulsing through the walls, a reminder that his moment was approaching. He stood behind the curtain, his heart racing, and tried to calm his breathing. The reality of his situation washed over him. This was the opportunity of a lifetime, and he couldn't let his insecurities overshadow the chance to showcase his talent. With each passing moment, the cheers of the audience grew louder, the anticipation palpable. Ethan took a deep breath, grounding himself in the present. He focused on the music, on the lyrics he had poured his heart into, and on the connection he felt with Mia. She believed in him, and that belief ignited a spark of determination within him. He would not let fear dictate his life any longer. As the time drew near, Ethan stepped into the spotlight, the bright stage lights illuminating his figure. The audience's cheers surged, washing over him like a tidal wave. In that moment, he chose to embrace the fear, to transform it into energy. With every strum of his guitar and every note that escaped his lips, he poured himself into the performance. The music enveloped him, and for the first time, he felt a sense of freedom. In the distance, he could see Mia watching him, her eyes filled with encouragement, her smile radiant. The connection they had forged through their shared passion echoed in his heart, a reminder that he was not alone. He was ready to step into his light, to claim his place in the world of music, and to embrace whatever came next. The stage was set, and Ethan was ready to shine. Ethan stood backstage, the vibrations of the audience's applause still echoing in his ears. The stage lights dimmed, and he could still feel the warmth of the spotlight that had enveloped him moments ago. His heart raced as he replayed the performance in his mind. Each strum of his guitar, each note he had sung, seemed to resonate not just within the walls of the venue, but within him. The thunderous applause felt surreal, as if he were caught in a dream where he was both an observer and the star. Mia approached him, her face radiating a genuine warmth that contrasted sharply with the intensity of the crowd. Her eyes sparkled with pride, and she reached out, pulling him into a brief yet affirming embrace. Ethan couldn't help but notice the way her presence lit up the space around them, as if the chaos of the concert faded away, leaving just the two of them in a world of their own. Her praise flowed effortlessly, and Ethan felt a swell of emotions: gratitude, joy, and a hint of disbelief. He had never imagined that he would share this moment with someone like her, someone who had graced the stage with thousands of fans adoring her every move. As they stepped away from the thrumming energy of the stage, the backstage area buzzed with activity. Crew members hurried past them, adjusting equipment and preparing for the next act. Amidst the chaos, Ethan felt a sense of calm wash over him. Mia's presence grounded him, and for the first time, he felt a flicker of confidence shining through his lingering insecurities. He had done it. He had performed, and the audience had responded. The thought ignited a spark within him, a belief that perhaps he truly belonged in this world of music. Days turned into weeks as Ethan and Mia began to explore the city together. Their relationship blossomed like the vibrant colors of autumn leaves, each outing a new adventure filled with laughter, shared stories, and the thrill of discovery. They wandered down bustling streets lined with cafes, boutiques, and art galleries, where the world of celebrity and ordinary life intertwined in a beautiful chaos. Ethan marveled at how effortlessly Mia navigated the attention from fans and paparazzi, her grace and charm drawing people in. He found himself captivated not just by her talent, but by her authenticity, the way she remained grounded despite the whirlwind of her career. In private moments, they would share their dreams and fears, peeling back the layers of their lives to reveal their vulnerabilities. Mia spoke of the pressure to maintain her image, the constant scrutiny she faced, and the fear of disappointing her fans. Ethan, in turn, opened up about his struggles with self-doubt and the fear of not being enough. It was during these moments of intimacy that he felt a deep connection with her, a bond that transcended the superficiality of fame. Yet, even amidst the joy, a shadow loomed over Ethan's heart, a nagging feeling of inadequacy that whispered to him, reminding him of his place in the world. As they strolled through parks and along the riverbank, Ethan experienced the thrill of being with someone famous, but with it came an undercurrent of anxiety. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was merely a fleeting chapter in Mia's story, a temporary respite from her glamorous life. The world he had once dreamed of now felt like a daunting arena where he was constantly measuring himself against her brilliance. He would often catch glimpses of her radiant smile and moments of laughter, but those moments would quickly give way to thoughts of whether he could truly keep up with the whirlwind of her existence. Then, the storm rolled in. It came as a blip on the radar, a tabloid story that would change everything. Ethan stumbled upon the article while scrolling through his phone, and his heart sank as he read the headline: "Pop star Mia dating unknown musician. A PR stunt?" The words hit him like a punch to the gut, and he felt the air leave his lungs. The article suggested that Mia was only dating him for publicity, to enhance her image as a relatable celebrity. The insinuation was like a cold wave crashing over him, washing away the warmth of their shared moments, leaving behind only doubt and confusion. Ethan's mind raced as he processed the implications. Had their relationship been a facade? Was he just a pawn in a game he didn't even know he was playing? The insecurities that had lingered at the edges of his heart surged to the forefront, drowning out the sweet memories they had created together. He felt betrayed, as though the very foundation of their love was being questioned by strangers who didn't know them. The thought of Mia's smile, once a beacon of hope, now felt tainted by doubt. In the days that followed, the weight of the rumor pressed heavily on Ethan's chest. He watched as Mia continued her life in the spotlight, her laughter and charm captivating those around her. But he felt like an outsider, an intruder in her world, and the distance between them grew. Each interaction became laced with unspoken words, as Ethan struggled to reconcile the image portrayed in the tabloids with the Mia he had come to know. The connection they had built felt fragile, as if one wrong move could shatter it completely. Ethan found himself withdrawing, retreating into the shadows of his thoughts. He spent hours strumming his guitar, pouring his heart into the melodies that echoed his turmoil. Music had always been his refuge, a safe haven where he could express what words could not. Yet, even in his solitude, the melodies felt heavy, burdened by the weight of uncertainty. He was tormented by the thought that perhaps their love was not as genuine as he had believed, that he was merely a backdrop to her stardom. As the rumors continued to circulate, Ethan faced a choice: confront Mia about the article or allow the doubts to fester. The fear of rejection gripped him tightly, yet the thought of remaining silent felt like an injustice to what they had shared. He stood at the crossroads of his emotions, torn between the desire to trust the bond they had formed and the suffocating grip of insecurity that whispered in his ear. In the quiet of the night, Ethan found himself staring at the stars, pondering the vastness of the universe and his place within it. He had dreamed of this life, yet now it felt like a fragile illusion. The city lights twinkled below, a reminder of the world he longed to be a part of, yet felt so distant from. As he closed his eyes, he imagined a future where he and Mia could navigate the complexities of fame and love together. But the specter of doubt loomed large, casting shadows over his hopes. Each day that passed felt like an eternity, the weight of the tabloid story pressing down on him like a heavy cloak. The joy he once felt in Mia's presence began to fade, replaced by a gnawing sense of betrayal. The laughter they had shared now echoed hollowly in his mind, tainted by the implications of the article. Ethan was at a precipice, standing on the edge of a decision that could alter the course of their relationship forever. The once bright stars of possibility dimmed, leaving him in a darkness he feared he might never escape. Ethan sat on the edge of his bed, the weight of the world pressing down on him. The soft glow of a single lamp illuminated the room, casting shadows on the walls adorned with his dreams. His guitar lay propped against the wall, a silent witness to the turmoil swirling within him. The vibrant melodies that usually flowed so freely through his fingers felt stifled, trapped beneath the heavy blanket of doubt that had settled over him since the tabloid rumors had surfaced. He had never envisioned that his budding romance with Mia, a woman who had illuminated his life in ways he could scarcely articulate, would be overshadowed by whispers and skepticism. The articles had been relentless, slicing through the fabric of their relationship like a knife. The assertion that Mia was merely using him as a prop to enhance her celebrity image dug deep into Ethan's heart. He had always regarded love as a sanctuary, a space where authenticity reigned supreme. Yet here he was, grappling with the very notion that perhaps their connection was a facade. Each word printed on those glossy pages had echoed in his mind, amplifying his insecurities until they resonated like a discordant chord. He thought back to the moment he had confronted Mia, the hurt and confusion evident in her eyes. It had been a scene etched in his memory, her expression a cocktail of disbelief and pain. Ethan had wished to shield her, to save her from the scrutiny that came with fame, but in doing so, he had inflicted his own wounds. The moment had been tainted by a rush of emotions, his love for her mingling with the gnawing fear of inadequacy. He could still hear the tremor in her voice as she had reassured him of her feelings, her words struggling to break through the fog of his doubt. But in that moment, Ethan had been unable to see past his own fears. Days had passed since their confrontation, each moment stretching into an eternity. Ethan had tried to distract himself with his music, pouring his heart into his guitar, yet every strum felt hollow. The notes that once danced from his fingertips now lingered in the air, heavy and unresolved. He felt like a marionette whose strings had been cut, left to flounder without direction. The vibrant world outside his window, the bustling streets, the laughter of strangers, felt distant and foreign. He had retreated into a shell, convinced that his presence in Mia's life would only bring her further scrutiny and hardship. Mia, for her part, had not given up. She reached out to him, her texts and calls filled with warmth and concern. Yet, each time Ethan saw her name flash across his screen, a wave of conflict washed over him. He wanted to respond, to reassure her that he was okay, but the words felt stuck in his throat, as if they were trapped in the same limbo he found himself in. The thought of seeing her brought both comfort and anguish, a bittersweet reminder of what he had nearly lost. A soft knock on his door startled him from his reverie. It was his roommate, an old friend who had seen Ethan through both highs and lows. The door creaked open, and in walked Ben, a buoyant presence that filled the room with a sense of normalcy. Ben had always been the extrovert to Ethan's introvert, the one who thrived in social situations while Ethan often preferred the company of his guitar. Ben had witnessed Ethan's struggles, particularly the emotional roller coaster that had accompanied his relationship with Mia. "Hey man, you've been cooped up in here for ages," Ben said, his voice light but his eyes observant. He perched on the edge of Ethan's desk, surveying the disarray of sheet music and guitar picks scattered about. "You okay?" With a sigh, Ethan ran a hand through his hair, the familiar gesture a sign of his turmoil. He didn't want to burden Ben with the complexities of his relationship with Mia, the swirling rumors that felt like a storm cloud looming over him. Instead, he offered a half-hearted nod, hoping it would suffice. Ben wasn't having it. "You know, I saw something interesting today," he continued, leaning in conspiratorially. "There's a charity concert coming up that Mia is headlining. You should think about performing there." Ethan's heart raced at the mention of Mia, the thought of her in front of an audience, the spotlight illuminating her like a celestial being, sent a rush of conflicting emotions through him. He could picture her on stage, her voice flowing effortlessly, captivating everyone in the crowd. But the idea of standing beside her, of potentially sharing a moment that had once felt so secure, now felt like a chasm he couldn't cross. "Ben, I don't think I can do that," Ethan replied, his voice barely above a whisper. The thought of facing Mia, especially in a public setting, felt too monumental. The weight of their unspoken words hung heavily in the air between them. Ben regarded him with a knowing look, his brows furrowing slightly. "You two are good together. You just need to figure things out. Running away won't help." Ethan could feel the truth in Ben's words, yet the fear of vulnerability loomed larger than ever. The very idea of confronting his feelings, of revealing the turmoil that had taken root within him, felt like standing on the edge of a precipice. He longed for connection, for the warmth of Mia's presence, but the fear of rejection was a powerful adversary. As the days turned into a blur of uncertainty, Ethan found himself at a crossroads. The music that had once been his refuge became a mirror reflecting his pain, and in the quiet moments, he began to write. Each chord he struck carried the weight of his longing, the hurt of feeling unworthy of Mia's love. The guitar, once a source of joy, transformed into a vessel for his heartache. In the solitude of his room, he poured his emotions into a song, the lyrics flowing like a river of truth. Each line encapsulated the essence of his love for Mia, the fear of losing her, and the desperate need for understanding. The melody wove itself around his sorrow, creating a tapestry that resonated with his deepest feelings. He envisioned Mia listening to it, feeling the raw honesty in every note, hoping it would bridge the chasm that had formed between them. The song was a catharsis, a release of the pent-up emotions that had threatened to drown him. He played it over and over, refining it until it felt just right, each note echoing the love that still lingered in his heart. It was his declaration, an attempt to reach out to Mia without the barriers of fear and doubt that had kept him at bay. As he strummed the final chord, a wave of exhaustion washed over him, yet there was also a flicker of hope. Perhaps, through this song, he could convey the depths of his feelings, the sincerity of his love, and the desire to reconnect. He knew that the road ahead was fraught with challenges, but in that moment, he embraced the possibility of redemption, of finding his way back to Mia, back to the love that had transformed him in ways he never thought possible. Ethan placed his guitar down, a sense of resolve washing over him. The shadows in his heart began to lift, and for the first time in days, he felt a glimmer of courage. It was time to face the music, to step out of the darkness and embrace the uncertainty that lay ahead. With a newfound determination, he picked up his phone, ready to reach out to Mia and share not just his song, but the truth of his heart. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Mia sat in her plush living room, her heart heavy with emotion. The radio played softly in the background, an eclectic mix of indie tunes and pop hits, when suddenly Ethan's voice filled the space, raw and passionate. The song he had written, his heartfelt expression of love and loss, wrapped around her like a warm embrace. Each note resonated deeply within her, stirring feelings she had tried to suppress since the rumors had surfaced. It was as if Ethan was singing directly to her, baring his soul, and she could feel the weight of his vulnerability seeping through the airwaves. Mia closed her eyes, allowing the music to wash over her. The lyrics spoke of longing, of a love that felt real amid the chaos of their lives. She could envision Ethan sitting in that small, dimly lit room, guitar in hand, pouring his heart into the strings, and she felt a pang of regret for how the tabloids had distorted their relationship. The realization struck her like a bolt of lightning. The rumors hadn't just hurt Ethan. They had also cast a shadow on what they had built together. A sense of urgency gripped her. She needed to act. With newfound determination, Mia grabbed her phone, her fingers trembling as she typed out a message to her manager. She wanted to clear the air, to speak her truth about Ethan, their love, and the authenticity of their relationship. She knew that the press conference would be the perfect platform to address the rumors head-on. Mia could almost hear the whispers of the media, the speculation swirling like a storm. She could no longer remain silent. The next day dawned bright and clear, the air charged with anticipation. The press conference was set to take place in a sleek hotel conference room, where reporters, photographers, and fans buzzed with excitement. Mia arrived early, her heart racing with a mix of anxiety and resolve. She wore a simple yet elegant dress, allowing her natural beauty to shine without the glitz and glam that often surrounded her public appearances. Today was about honesty, about laying bare the truth. As she took her seat at the long table adorned with microphones and cameras, the chatter around her faded into a dull hum. The room was filled with familiar faces, journalists who had long chronicled her journey through fame and fortune. They were eager for the latest scoop, but Mia was determined to shift the narrative. She could feel the weight of their expectations pressing down on her, yet she held her head high, ready to reclaim her story. When the time came for her to speak, Mia took a deep breath, her hands resting on the table as she scanned the sea of faces before her. She began by addressing the rumors that had circulated about her relationship with Ethan. The words flowed from her like a river, clear and unwavering. She spoke candidly about the love they shared, emphasizing how genuine and beautiful it was, untouched by the superficiality often associated with fame. Mia described how Ethan's music had always resonated with her, how his passion ignited something within her that she had long thought extinguished. The room fell silent, the journalists hanging on her every word. Mia recounted their initial meeting, the spark that had ignited their connection during rehearsals, and how their shared vulnerabilities had drawn them closer. She painted a vivid picture of their time together, the late-night conversations, the laughter, and the comfort they found in one another. Her voice wavered with emotion as she reaffirmed that their relationship was based on mutual respect and admiration, not a publicity stunt. As she continued, Mia could see the shift in the audience. The skepticism that had initially clouded their expressions began to fade, replaced by curiosity and empathy. She spoke of the pressures of fame, the constant scrutiny that came with being in the spotlight, and how it often distorted the truth. In that moment, Mia became not just a pop star but a woman unafraid to reveal her heart, to stand up for the love that had blossomed amidst the chaos. When she finished, the room erupted into applause, a sound that filled her with a sense of relief and gratitude. She had done it. She had faced the storm and emerged unscathed. The questions that followed were no longer laden with doubt, but rather filled with genuine interest. Reporters sought to understand her perspective, to delve deeper into the story of love that had been overshadowed by sensationalism. Mia answered each question with grace, her confidence radiating as she spoke about Ethan, his artistry, and the profound connection they shared. As the press conference concluded, Mia felt an overwhelming sense of hope. She had taken a significant step toward healing, not just for herself, but for Ethan as well. The love they had was worth fighting for, and she was determined to show him just how much he meant to her. She imagined Ethan listening to the broadcast, his heart swelling with pride and relief as he heard her words. It was time to reach out to him, to bridge the gap that had formed between them. Back in his small apartment, Ethan sat on the edge of his bed, the radio still playing softly in the background. He had heard Mia's heartfelt words during the press conference, and each syllable resonated within him. For the first time in days, he felt a flicker of hope ignite in his chest. The rumors had tried to tear them apart, but Mia's courage in speaking out had rekindled his faith in their love. He could sense the sincerity behind her declaration, the truth that had been buried beneath the weight of public opinion. With trembling hands, Ethan picked up his phone, hesitating for a moment before typing out a message to Mia. He wanted to express his gratitude, to tell her how much her words had meant to him. But more than that, he wanted to see her, to hold her close and reassure her that they could face whatever challenges lay ahead together. The thought of their reunion filled him with a sense of longing, a desire to reconnect and mend the wounds inflicted by the tabloids. As he pressed send, Ethan felt a rush of anticipation. The air seemed charged with possibility, and he couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the brink of something beautiful. He imagined Mia's smile, the way her eyes lit up when she was happy, and he yearned to experience that warmth once again. The moments they had shared, the laughter, the music, they were all worth fighting for. Moments later, his phone buzzed, and Ethan's heart raced as he saw Mia's name flash across the screen. She wanted to meet, to talk things through, and a wave of relief washed over him. He quickly agreed, his mind racing with thoughts of how he would express everything he had felt since their relationship had been challenged. This was their chance to redefine their love, to set the record straight and emerge stronger together. As Ethan prepared for their meeting, he felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. He wanted to show Mia how much she meant to him, to reassure her that their love was genuine, despite the noise surrounding them. The sun had begun to set, casting a warm golden light through his window, and he found comfort in the thought that they were about to embark on a new chapter, one filled with honesty, love, and the courage to face the world together. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm golden hue across the city, Ethan sat nervously at a small table in a secluded corner of a cozy cafe. The faint aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the sweet scent of pastries, but none of it could calm the fluttering sensation in his stomach. He had agreed to meet Mia, his heart racing at the thought of seeing her again after the turmoil that had threatened to tear them apart. Today was not just any day. It was a chance for redemption and understanding. Mia arrived a few minutes later, her presence illuminating the space around her. Dressed casually yet stylishly, she carried an aura of both confidence and vulnerability that made Ethan's heart ache in the best way. As she approached, he felt a rush of affection mixed with apprehension. He had missed her tremendously, but feared the weight of their past misunderstandings would loom over their reunion. She offered a soft smile as she sat down, and he couldn't help but mirror her expression, albeit with a hint of nervousness. After exchanging a few pleasantries, the conversation took a more serious turn as Mia opened up about the pressures she had been facing. Her voice was steady, yet Ethan could sense the underlying tension in her words. She spoke of the relentless demands from her management, the constant scrutiny of the press, and the unrealistic expectations that came with her fame. It was a world that Ethan could hardly fathom, one that seemed both glamorous and stifling, where every action was dissected and judged. As she shared her struggles, Ethan leaned in, absorbing her words, wanting to understand her better, to be the supportive partner she needed. Mia recounted a time when she felt lost amidst the chaos, a moment when she questioned her own identity outside of the public eye. There had been moments when the pressure to conform to a particular image felt suffocating. She revealed how difficult it had been to find space to breathe, to be herself without the weight of expectations. Ethan sat quietly, his heart swelling with empathy. He had always admired her talent and strength, but seeing her vulnerability made him realize how deeply she was affected by the very fame that had drawn them together. As they spoke, the atmosphere shifted. The barriers that had built up between them began to crumble. Ethan found himself sharing his own insecurities, the fear that he wasn't enough for someone as extraordinary as Mia. He confessed how he had often felt overshadowed by her celebrity status, how the tabloid rumors had amplified those insecurities, leaving him questioning the authenticity of their love. Mia listened intently, her expression softening as she reached across the table, her fingers brushing against his. In that small gesture, Ethan felt a connection that transcended words. The conversation deepened, and they found solace in their shared vulnerabilities. They both confessed their love for each other, a love that had weathered misunderstandings and challenges. It was a profound moment, one that solidified their bond as they acknowledged the strength they found in one another. They agreed to face the challenges ahead together, promising to communicate openly and honestly, to support each other through the trials that fame and life might throw their way. Just as the warmth of their renewed connection enveloped them, Ethan's phone buzzed on the table. He glanced down and saw the name of a mutual friend, a name that stirred a sense of unease in him. He hesitated before answering, an instinctual feeling that something was amiss. As he listened, his expression shifted from curiosity to shock. It was news that would alter the trajectory of their conversation and their relationship once again. Ethan learned that the tabloid rumors had not been a mere coincidence. They had been fueled by Mia's jealous ex-boyfriend, a man whose bitterness had taken a venomous turn. The news struck Ethan like a bolt of lightning, igniting a mix of anger and protectiveness within him. He couldn't believe that someone would go to such lengths to sabotage Mia's happiness, to play with the narratives that could hurt her career and their relationship. It felt deeply personal, an affront not just to Mia but to the love they had fought so hard to reclaim. With determination burning in his chest, Ethan explained the situation to Mia. Her eyes widened in disbelief, a storm of emotions swirling within her. The betrayal was evident on her face, but alongside it was a renewed fire, a fierce resolve to confront the man who had disrupted their lives. They both understood that they could no longer allow external forces to dictate their happiness. It was time to take a stand, to fight for what they had worked so hard to rebuild. They decided to confront the ex-boyfriend together, a united front against the negativity that threatened to tear them apart once more. The confrontation took place in a public park, where the air was thick with tension. As they approached him, Ethan felt a surge of adrenaline. He was ready to defend Mia, to protect the love they had fought so hard to reclaim. Mia, too, stood tall, her demeanor exuding confidence and determination. When they faced him, the ex-boyfriend's expression shifted from surprise to annoyance, an unsettling mix of arrogance and disbelief. He attempted to downplay his actions, to dismiss the emotional fallout he had caused. But Ethan and Mia were resolute. They spoke with clarity and conviction, articulating the hurt and chaos his jealousy had sown. They exposed the truth behind the rumors, refusing to let him manipulate their narrative any longer. Mia's voice rose above the tension, filled with a strength that surprised even Ethan. She articulated her love for Ethan, her commitment to their relationship, and her refusal to be a pawn in anyone's game. It was a powerful moment, one where she reclaimed her narrative and stood against the toxicity that had threatened to overshadow her happiness. Ethan felt a rush of pride as he witnessed Mia's strength, realizing that together they were an unstoppable force. The confrontation reached its peak, and as her ex-boyfriend attempted to deflect blame, he realized he had underestimated Mia's resolve. The words they shared cut through the air, revealing the truth he had tried to obscure. With a final, piercing look, Mia declared that she would no longer accept being treated as a mere object of desire or jealousy. The ex-boyfriend, cornered and exposed, finally retreated, leaving them standing together in the aftermath of their confrontation. As they walked away from the park, Ethan and Mia felt a weight lift from their shoulders. They had faced a storm and emerged victorious, their bond stronger than ever. The challenges that had threatened to tear them apart had instead forged an unbreakable connection, one built on trust, understanding, and love. Their journey culminated in a charity concert, where they would perform together for the first time since their reconciliation. The energy in the air was electric, anticipation buzzing as they stepped onto the stage. With the lights shining brightly, Ethan felt a sense of belonging wash over him. He glanced at Mia, who smiled back at him, her eyes sparkling with excitement and love. They began to play, their voices intertwining in a beautiful duet that resonated with the audience and each other. In that moment, they celebrated not just their love, but the journey they had taken together. The music flowed effortlessly, a testament to their resilience and commitment to one another. They were no longer just a shy musician and a pop star. They were two souls intertwined, ready to face whatever life threw their way together. As the final notes echoed through the venue, they stood hand in hand, a symbol of hope and happiness, ready to embrace a future filled with love and promise.